Okay, sorry for the delay. I'd like to call the September 1st, 2020 board meeting to order. This meeting of the Sugar Grove Village Board will be held as outlined in Public Act 101-0640, which waives the Open Meeting Act requirement that a quorum of elected officials be present to hold a public meeting in the event of a public health disaster declaration and a determination by the village president. Governor Pritzker issued a statewide disaster declaration on August 21st, 2020, and in response, P. Sean Michaels determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent at this time. Okay, with that said, Ted, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States,
which stands one nation under God, liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Ted. Okay, I'd like to open up the public hearing, or roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee Montalto?
Here.
Trustee Conan?
Here.
Trustee Lendy?
Here.
Trustee Walter?
Here.
Trustee Heron?
Here.
Trustee Cook?
Here.
President Michaels?
Here. Okay, thank you all for being present. I'd like to open up the public hearing for 41W950 Prairie Street annexation special use of firewood and mulch. Anybody to make a public comment on that use?
Sean, if I can also just remind the attendees who are listening that if you want to speak at this time, you can use the raised hand feature. So we do have 4 attendees on the line. And so on your screen, you can click the little hand and I can see it and I can let you speak at this time.
Okay.
Sean?
Anybody would like to speak on the public hearing for the firewood and mulch? Going once?
Hey, Sean, on that one, can you hear me?
Yes.
On that one, because the draft annexation agreement isn't completed, if we request that you not close it and actually continue it to the next board meeting, in case there's comment on the draft annexation agreement.
Okay.
And we do have one attendee who has raised their hands, Billy McHugh. So I'm going to unmute them and then they can unmute themselves and talk. Oh, he put his hand down. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. We will keep the public hearing open till the next board meeting, which is on September 15th. Okay. All right. Any public comments on items scheduled for action? And we have 2 people in attendance here that one would like to address the board. It's about an item that's not on the agenda, but since they're here and instead of making them sit through the entire agenda, I will offer them an opportunity to speak. Sure, good. You come forward. Yeah, come up.
Can they hear me?
Yeah, you can take off your mask as well.
I can?
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
Go ahead.
If they can't hear me, just tell me I'm an actor, so I can project really loud.
Good. All right.
So thank you for your time. My name is Dominic. I am the president of Settlers Ridge HOA. Wanted to come before now, but then the pandemic came and whoop, nothing happened. I want to talk to you about the timeline and the facts which revolve around the Gordon Road medians, their ownership, and the responsibilities of that property as laid out, memorialized in the recorded agreement of the parties and the annexation agreement filed with Kane County. Our association recently, and I use recently defined as within the last year and a half, was made aware that the medians on Gordon Road were not our property. And in fact, were not only the property of the village, but the village also agreed to the maintaining of the medians with the filing of the annexation. At the September 2019 HOA meeting, I myself informed Walter that we would no longer be maintaining your property. Several emails went between Walter and our management company where the wrong portion of the annexation agreement was cited. The village looked to paragraph 19, page 16. which only deals with medians in our subdivision, which we don't dispute are our responsibility. Gordon Road median, however, is detailed on page 22 and specifically mentioned in paragraph C of section 9. It would appear from September until this summer, nothing happened. Until I received an email asking when we were going to mow your property. Our attorney responded basically stating, we're not allowed to spend our residents' HOA money maintaining other people's property. We have subsequently had conversations with village staff and attorneys where we were told it's not a good use of time to discuss why the village sees the Gordon Road medians as our responsibility. That is the only good use of time. We need to talk about why you guys feel the way you do. Why you're coming from your point of view, which is contrary to that of the legally filed annexation agreement. I then received a call where I was told a conversation would happen between the trustees and us to have a good decision. I said I would love to speak to the trustees as they made their decision. We were supposed to be part of the conversation. Then I hear from Brent that the discussion happened without us, and the decision was to look at it annually to see if you will maintain it for that year. I'm just curious, what other properties that you own do you reevaluate annually? Brent had said that we have threatened litigation. We have not. Have we studied? And have I told everyone that we have studied how much it will cost to go to full litigation versus maintaining your property? Yeah.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Thank you. I truly mean this in the vein of collaboration and conversation. That's why we're here tonight. It's your property. We have a document that says it's yours to maintain. You would need to sue us if you weren't going to maintain it. All right? We just want to have the conversation. We wanted to be here tonight to share facts and truths with you. That's our side. We would love to talk about this, though. We don't understand why we have.
Thank you, Don. Thank you. Okay. All right. Was there any other public comment?
Yes. I'm Jane Cleaver. I'm also on the board. I have one question that they were brought to us to ask you is, why do village employees come into our neighborhood and mow the lawn around the village properties within our neighborhood, but then drive away and do not mow your property on Gordon? That is the question our neighbors have asked us.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Sean, we also have two emails that came in that I can read.
Please do.
Okay. Village Board, I would like to respond to a couple of items that were discussed at the meeting on August 18th. First, please ask Mr. and Mrs. Bill Leonard how much he would charge for the dirt coming off of the dirt pile, and then ask him for a check. He recently built a house in Hannaford Farms and received dirt from this pile. It is hypocritical for him to say that builders should pay for dirt now that he has built a house and no longer needs the dirt. Builders have never had to pay for dirt coming off a common pile. Their suggestion is absurd. Mr. and Mrs. Bill Leonard also requested that a board member should recuse himself. Bill Leonard should have also included that Ms. Jen Conan recuse herself. Jen Conan has more of a conflict than anyone on the village board. She is a member of the HOA board. She is a realtor representing a builder that builds in Hannaford and a village trustee. Ms. Conan ran to bring open and transparency to the village board, but she has never discussed the fact that she has these conflicts. Ms. Conan should not participate in any discussion of this dirt pile. Thank you for your time, Peter Zach. The next one is from the Hannaford Farm Owners Association Board regarding the Hannaford Farm dirt pile plan. To whom it may concern, the Hannaford Farm Homeowners Association has been working diligently over the past year with the Village of Sugar Grove to find a solution to the stock dirt pile. The pile is located in the center of our subdivision and is the source of many previous issues. Mr. Brent Eichelberger, along with village staff, has brought a plan to the HOA board, and after discussion, the Hannaford Farm HOA has agreed that this is the best plan moving forward. We respectfully request that the Village of Sugar Grove trustees vote in favor of this plan. We look forward to working with the village to bring this issue to a close. Respectfully, Hannaford Farm HOA.
I see Mr. McHugh's on the attendees list, and we'll ask him to comment later when we bring up the Hannaford topic. Okay. Any other comments, public comments come before the board? Okay. Going once.
Sean, I don't know if my screen's popping up right, but on mine it looks like there might be a question, but I'm not sure how this plays with one of the attendees.
Carlos? Jimenez?
Yeah.
Carlos, if you're in attendance online, do you have a question for the board or public comment?
He wrote that you should know there is no sound. Okay. I'm not sure.
Is the board able to hear me, and were you hear the comments from the public?
Yes, I was.
I can hear you.
I've heard everything.
Okay.
Let's see. The other thing we can ask, Tom O'Malley is on there. Tom, I'm going to unmute you. If you could unmute yourself and just let us know if you can hear us, Tom.
Yes, I've heard everything.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I'm going to mute you for now, and then later I'll let you back on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'll continue on. Close the public comment items. May I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? Under the consent agenda, we have approval of the minutes from August 18th, approval of the vouchers, a resolution authorizing an agreement for pavement marking, and then under general business, we'll talk about renewable residential electric aggregation. May I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any request to remove an item? Okay, Allison, roll call, please.
Trustee Montalto?
Aye.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Walter?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Conan?
Aye.
And also, Sean, I'm not sure if we continued the public hearing under the public hearing section. Did we do that?
We did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Until September 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, consent agenda passes. Under general business, approval of the renewable residential electric aggregation. And Brent, did you want that subject to review?
No, we're good on this one.
Okay. Matt, were you gonna?
Yeah, so at the last meeting, we discussed the program, and I had let you know that we were out to bid on those projects, or on this program, and we did get the bids back from two suppliers, which both were able to give us the minimum EPA allotment. And what would happen if we did go with the one company, we would receive $24,000 as a civic contribution grant towards the village with the minimum EPA green energy requirements. So that's where we're at as far as the bids. Again, the pricing is ComEd pricing, so there's no difference in pricing for residents. It was just more on the civic contribution in regards to the levels of the requirements for the EPA. So that's the part on the bid part. If you have more questions regarding the bid or the program as a whole, Dave Hoover is on the call if there's specific questions I didn't answer the last time. Otherwise, it's really an approval to move forward with the minimum EPA because we do already have the approval for municipal aggregation. So this is more just a moving forward on the minimum EPA level for that bid.
Does this lock the price to the same as ComEd for the entire year then?
Excuse me, Rick. Can we get a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Rick.
I just wondered that does lock it in for the entire year. It's nothing that's going to change during that year, right?
It would just be the same ComEd variable rate. So
Okay.
it wouldn't be any different than any other program for ComEd.
Okay.
And then, Rick, if I can add, what staff's going to be recommending is that we actually sign a 3-year contract that would lock it in for 3 years. All of the different options match the ComEd rate. It's just balancing the term and the civic contribution and the percentage of green energy. So, Matt and I, and talking with Dave, all three believe that the 3-year option makes the most sense, and that they said under that one it would be a $24,000 annual civic contribution. And just reiterating from last week, if a resident already has an alternate supplier or solar or something else, they stay with that. It would only be ComEd customers that would get moved over. And if at any point during it any resident wants to opt out and go their own way, they have that right with no fee.
Okay.
Dave, if we did not take this program, would we look for Direct Energy or somebody else that would offer lower rates that, maybe we're not giving $24,000 back to the community, but the residents would have a lower rate?
We first, before we entered into this program, we did bid out with our about 5 or 6 suppliers to see if a fixed rate was available that was below the ComEd rate. And all of our suppliers responded with fixed rates for the entire community that were above the ComEd rate.
Okay.
So in other words, the savings, and that's not unusual, by the way. We're finding that in most of our communities. The ComEd rate right now is very competitive. And so as a result, this is kind of our plan B, offering. No difference to residents, but it does bring in some additional revenues to the municipality to plug some holes that you may have occurred over the last 6 months.
Okay. What's the current ComEd
I
rate?
would add, if I could, the 3-year versus the 1 year, if the 24,000 is going to be the same for all 3 years, is there a chance that next year ComEd would raise their rates and one of the other suppliers would be less? Are we shooting ourselves in the foot if it's the same this year for the next 2 years after this and something else changes in the world?
Yeah, we don't necessarily see that happening. Since 2018, for the last 2 years, we have not been able to find a rate lower than ComEd, certainly in your facility, in your municipality. And it's the exception where we have been able to find that rate. So we have done approximately 45 of these renewals in the last year. And we've had one with a fixed rate lower than ComEd. So, what can change down the road? Anything can change down the road. But I think locking this in is a prudent thing to do. It puts it to rest. You can always, at the end of 3 years, we can take another look. Again, we just haven't been able to beat the ComEd rate for at least 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
Dave, what is the current ComEd rate roughly?
So there's a summer rate and a non-summer rate. It annualizes to about 6.9 cents per kilowatt hour on an annualized basis. And just so you know, in addition to that, every month ComEd has a variable component up to 0.5 cents, and so it'll range within a penny of that 6.9 cents on an annualized number.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Montalto,
Aye.
Trustee Walter,
Aye.
Trustee Heron,
Aye.
Trustee Conan,
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is discussion items for 41W950 Prairie Street annexation special use for firewood and mulch. Walter?
Good evening. We've brought this to the board for discussion. The Plan Commission held a public hearing for a couple matters related to the proposed annexation and the special use for the mulch and firewood sales business. And in the process, raised a couple questions or issues that we want to bring to the village board to discuss before we finalize the annexation agreement and make a final decision. To make a long story short, we've identified 3 issues or areas that we're looking for the village board to weigh in on. One is in our quest to amend the zoning ordinance to establish this use as a special use in the ER district, or I'm sorry, the E1 district, the Plan Commission had a different opinion. They felt it should only be allowed in the commercial districts, not the estate residential. So, we need some direction from the village board concerning that. Another issue is the additional standards that were proposed for not only the zoning amendment, but the specific special use. So, we want to make sure that the village board understands what we're attempting to accomplish with those conditions of approval. And then lastly, there's been so much attention placed on the 2 commodities of the mulch and the firewood as part of the business that the other commodities haven't gotten any attention, specifically the applicant's desire to sell topsoil from the property as well. So we want to make sure that the village board understands that and is comfortable with that as I guess an accessory commodity that would be selling, not the principal commodity that would be sold from the property. So that in a nutshell is why we're discussing it tonight. The applicants I believe are on the line. They can answer any specific questions about their operation and the proposed conditions of approval, both for the special use amendment as well as their specific special use.
I guess maybe following up on some of the discussion that you had at the Plan Commission, the Plan Commission thought it should go into a business district, and you're recommending the estate district. Does that not have a carryover effect if anybody does come in with the state zoning, that then they could have this underlying commercial use to it?
Well, no. The estate residential zoning classification is the most restrictive zoning classification that the village has. And in the event that this particular special use ceased operations for whatever reason, the underlying zoning stays. And so we want to make sure that no one else could operate the special use after this one were to cease operation. And the only use that would be permitted on the property is what's permitted in the estate residential, which is farming and single-family residential.
Sean, if I can add to that, Walter, Laura, and I spent a considerable amount of time both before and after the Plan Commission met reviewing the underlying zoning categories. And I believe the Plan Commission recommendation was against using E1 and to use either B2, B3, or I think it was M1, might have been I1. I have to apologize on that. But is the underlying zoning, with my understanding, is the main concern was introducing a commercial use into a residential district, which is what E1 would be. And we do appreciate that concern, but our focus was on the table of permitted uses. And our concern was when we looked at the B2, B3, and, M1, is that what it was, Walter, before I keep referring to M1, or was it I1? M1?
M1.
When we look at the uses on those, our concern was that if we use that as the underlying zoning, if any time these owners or somebody else no longer wanted to do the firewood and mulch, they would have the right to do any of the permitted uses in those categories, and they would also have the right to seek one of the special uses. And thank you, Allison, for putting that up. So essentially, we looked through this table, and we had more concern about the potential permitted or special uses under B2, B3, or M1 that could happen on this property than we were concerned about introducing this use into the E1 district throughout the village. We looked at on that side of it, we looked at the zoning map to see where there was existing E1 in the village. And then when you look in your packet on the proposed conditions, the first one on there, use must be on a parcel not less than 5 acres. So that eliminated, I believe Stratford Woods is E1, not that anyone plans to sell firewood or mulch out of a lot in Stratford Woods, but by putting that 5 acre minimum on it, that eliminated that as a possibility. And, we believe through the proposed conditions that, should anybody, seek to do this in any of the other currently zoned E1 districts, which are relatively few, we didn't think that would be, any type of a significant issue. And again, we were just much more concerned about, B2, B3, or M1 and what someone could do on this property. Just to mention, we also looked at A1 alternative 2 and did a similar analysis. And I think the three of us, and Walter and Laura certainly can chime in, I think at the end, the three of us were in agreement that, the best fit, if you will, is E1.
Okay. And I was going to ask why we could not do an ag special use. I do see that if you do ag, then implements could be sold, but could you not limit the special use to just landscape materials like we're doing here?
Well, I believe, and Walter and Laura could answer better, but under A1, it is a permitted use. So we would have to change the A1 zoning, I believe, to remove that as a permitted use, make it special, or eliminate it entirely, to prevent A1 from doing that.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Other questions for staff? We do have Mike and Tom on line.
Yeah, Sean, if I may, so I think as Walter had said that, the underlying zoning certainly is the key basis for this whole concept. And you're probably going to get to it anyway. I'm probably interrupting, but, the other part of that is the proposed standards for the special use on anywhere, if it came up anywhere else in the village, and then the specific conditions for this particular property. Those would be if the board's comfortable with the zoning idea of going to E1, the standards would be the place for you in conditions where you should focus, going forward to make sure we touched on everything to try to make address the concerns that were raised at previous meetings and balance the concerns with the petitioner's ability to have a good business over there.
Okay. Rick, were you going to say something?
I could. I guess Brent kind of touched upon it. I mean, obviously the things we've talked about in the past, the zoning, you can zone it anything you want if we don't address the concerns of the truck traffic and the effect it's going to have on resale value of homes and safety issues and, some other things, the smell of the mulch and the other things that came up that I'd like to ask Tom or Mike if they've come up with a plan. I know I was listening in at the meeting for the Planning Commission when they were discussing this, and two things that were talked about that they didn't really seem to either have an answer for or a plan for. Number one, they were asked if the footprint, if we kept it to the footprint that they've proposed now so that the business doesn't expand to something like ground effects or something in the future, and just limited to the spots they had there, the third of an acre or whatever it is versus the whole, 6 acres. They kind of tap danced around it and never really, the only thing that came back as a response, I believe Mike said something about, they were thinking about rotating from one pad to a different pad or something, but they never really said they'd be okay or not okay with limiting the size of their operation. So I guess that's one question I have. And the second one, John Goodenkoff asked about the driveway as far as paving it, and was talking about 12-inch thick, gravel and stuff like that for the trucks going in and out of there, because it would be, if it was just gravel, it would be dragging mud and stuff out on the street. So that's something they said they hadn't really thought about, because I'm sure that's going to be costly to put in. And he was talking about how wide the apron had to be. And I mean, that's John's background working for the county. So, he was kind of schooled in that. So I'm guess if Mike or Tom, if you guys have had a chance to think of either of those two things and what your plans are with that.
Again, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want their answer to make sure they agree with it, Rick. But if I can just point out, in the conditions of the special use, Allison, if you could scroll down, condition number 7. It's at the very last document of the entire report, I believe, Allison. The condition number 7 is that outdoor storage area may not exceed 5,000 square feet. That's one of the conditions that's proposed by staff. And then there you go. So I think, to the extent, and certainly I want to, make sure that they agree with that and they're aware of that that's in the proposed conditions. And then if you scroll up to the page before that, under the additional standards, help me out, Walter. I believe there is something addressing the keeping the road clean. Is that up there?
Yes, item F.
Item F. So we attempted to address those concerns. If they need to be tweaked, obviously we need to make sure that petitioners, that we get to agreement on whatever they are. But that was our attempt to address those concerns as we understood them. Okay.
Would that require a driveway to be put in?
As written, it would not. It would just require them to keep the free of debris at all time. If there's a problem with them tracking mud and other materials on Prairie Street, I think normal operations, we would give them the opportunity to rectify it. If it continues to be a problem, then we could say they're in violation of the special use and move to retract the special use permission. So they would be putting their business at risk if they don't keep Prairie Street clean.
Well, I guess my question is, if residential, single-family residential in E1 cannot have gravel driveways, why would we permit a business to have it?
Actually, Walter, help me out, because I know you looked at the zoning code requirements versus the village code. So I may stand corrected here pretty quickly, Rick. I better let Walter answer this one.
All right.
Well, there's one little detail that we haven't discussed in all of this, and that is the driveway, the existing driveway that provides access to this property is not on the property. It's off-site. and the access is provided with the access agreement with the property owner. And we're only annexing the site with farm building on it and the hayfield, not the driveway. So technically, the driveway will not be in the village. The other aspect of your question about paving the driveway is the village code requires hard surface driveway in the residential districts, and we also have requirements for that in the zoning ordinance for commercial areas.
Right. Okay, but this isn't their driveway, so we can't, I mean, obviously, I understand that if it's not their driveway and it's not in the village, I guess my big concern going forward then would be the plan for keeping the street clean, because living off a prairie and knowing during harvest season and planting season, I mean, the trucks are coming and going from the farms off of gravel roads, and prairie gets muddy. It gets dirty. And if this is going to be semis and trucks coming in and out of there all the time, it's going to be a daily issue. And I guess one other question I had, and I get the fact that, this is not going to be a huge pile of mulch, but at the board meeting or at the planning commission meeting, the one planning commission member showed some pictures of a facility in Aurora, and I know that's a production facility. It's different than what they're planning here. But one of my neighbors that retired from Public Works in Aurora made a comment that particular site in Aurora had to hose that pile down like 3 times a day to keep it from smoldering, because it tends to catch on fire if it sits. And that's something we haven't discussed either. So I guess that's another thing just to bring up to see what the plan is for them maintaining something like that.
Well, in my conversations with my counterpart in Geneva, where Geneva Mulch and Firewood is located, in which the applicants have identified as the model, they aspire to be, he indicated that they've had no problems or issues with that operation, and they're right on a highly busy highway, Route 38 in downtown Geneva. They've had no issues with odor. The site is, as clean as you can expect for what it is. And, they've had, it's really been no problem for them.
I'd also comment that location backs up to an elementary school as well. And they haven't had any complaints as well.
Mike and Tom, have you seen the conditions that staff's proposing, and do you have any issues with those proposed conditions?
Yes, we have, and we actually spoke with Walter on Friday. I guess the only piece that I guess we just feel comfortable knowing is for certain the square footage of the storage area. We want to definitely make some final measurements before that's set in stone. Other than that, we feel really confident that we should be able to make do with the current list of restrictions and requirements.
Item I is outdoor storage shall not exceed 10 feet in height and must be on a paved surface. Is that doable? I was anticipating that you'd be storing at least the mulch on a stone surface, but this specifically calls for paved surfaces.
No, we agree with that. To keep the quality of the product up, you have to have it on paved. Otherwise, if you do an aggregate surface, you're going to have small bits of aggregate mixed in with mulch, and nobody's very favorable for that. So that's a definite for us.
Okay. And then item K, outdoor storage shall be screened from view from the nearest public thoroughfare by use of a solid fence wall or landscaping. So in my mind, that means that you just put up some type of barrier between Prairie Street and your property. Again, you're okay with that?
Yes, sir. We plan on, currently, if you've gone past there, we do have a small berm there. We plan on implementing a little bit larger berm and then utilizing arborvitaes to help with the screening as well.
Okay. Any other questions for the petitioners or staff on this?
I just would be interested. I haven't had an opportunity to get out there yet, but I know some people have. In relation to some of the concerns we've heard from residents, those of you that have been able to get out there, what is your take on that, and how do you feel after touring the facility?
I can speak for myself on that one. I know I did have an opportunity to go out and I haven't, I mean, other than the comments that we received, I think 2 board meetings ago, I haven't received any emails regarding this issue from any residents. So to me, it didn't seem like there was an overwhelming issue with it from local residents, at least from my perspective. But when I did go on the property, they do have a berm. They did say they wanted to put some arborvitae between the black walnut for screening. It doesn't look, it's set back from the road. There's a very nice building that's there. I was there when the train went by, and it makes you kind of wonder, living near the train. I don't know how much more noise you're really going to generate from trucks coming in. And then also they said to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think you said 10 or 15 deliveries a week of material. So, that's a couple a day if they're busy. Again, it's all supply and demand. We hope you're busy if this goes through. But I didn't get an overwhelming sense. It's kind of, I know it's on the backside of Mallard, but there's farmland all around it. Like I said, the train on one side and it's natural material. I wasn't as concerned as I was initially. So that was my feedback.
Yeah, I also met with the owners last Sunday afternoon, had a great conversation. I can say the property, it's large. I think we were saying 6 or 7 acres. Like Jen said, it's all set back all the way very close to the train tracks, the building, of course, and the footprint of the actual operation of where the bins are. We've all seen an aerial view, but it's again, set way back. It's not that large. I think it's a nice business for the community. And then with regards to truck traffic, I can understand people's potential concerns about that, but I'm in the industry of moving aggregates, and we're talking 150 semi-truckloads coming into our facility between Elburn and Sugar Grove. Like Jen said, we've heard this is about 15 per day of deliveries. That's 2 to 3 per day. Just not going to notice it much, honestly. That's my belief. Being at a very, very busy operation, and it's just part of traffic, but it's not. I don't see it as being a big issue as long as we keep it out of the neighborhood. That is certainly something that I think we all can support. But as far as on Prairie, I guess I don't have any strong concerns about that.
I as well went and toured the property, and if you haven't, I would recommend you do it, because it really, you can feel the huge distance that there is between where they're planning to do their work and how far away it is from the houses. because you can't really get that feel from looking at a 2D photo or something. Because it's a huge distance, a lot further than I thought when you're standing there and you're looking at that distance. I think it fits Sugar Grove, as far as Sugar Grove wanting to be kind of on that edge of rural and suburbia. I think it's a good biz there. I looked up the type of trucks they said that they would be getting in and out. They're not as large as I originally thought they would be. So, I don't, unless I hear a whole bunch of other complaints, which I haven't heard any more than the first couple ones we had, a couple meetings ago, I think this would be a good use for this site.
Okay. Brent or Walter, do you anticipate having a ordinance drafted for next meeting for the board to review then?
Yes. Yeah. We're hoping to have it ready for a board vote at the next meeting. That's our goal.
I'm still really concerned about Prairie Street. And just some more abuse that's going to take out there and just adding to the traffic and some of the continued issues we've had. So I haven't gone out and taken a look at it yet, but I am a bit cautious with this one.
Okay.
I can say I haven't seen it either. I haven't gone to look at it because I can see it. I'm familiar with the property and I can see it from my yard. The only thing I've got to say is, yeah, there's a lot of neighbors that have talked to me about it. They haven't reached out to the village. And the biggest concern is not so much the delivery, I think, as it is the people picking up stuff and then shooting through our neighborhood on the new streets we just paved. So, I mean, if there's some way we can address that, that's a key issue. And the smell of the fresh mulch. If they're turning that over because it's not a big pile, it's going to be fresh all the time. And I guess it's one more, and I don't want to sound like the Mallard Point people are whining, but I hear regularly that Mallard Point is, quote unquote, the redheaded stepchild of the village because we're on the south side of the tracks. And we've done a lot this summer to make people happy with curbs and sidewalks and streets. And we're supposed to be tree trimming this fall, and everyone's real happy about that. But you said yourself, Brent, that no other neighborhood fits this 5-acre situation if we're going to do it. So, Hannaford Farms or Dugan or Windsor West or East or, any of the other neighborhoods aren't going to get this, but Mallard will. So it's, that is another concern, just the kickback, if we go through with this, and I'm not saying these guys don't have a good business model. The biggest concern is how close it is. And it's a heck of a lot closer than the truck traffic for Hannaford. And their neighborhood went crazy. I just don't think that our neighborhood's really aware of this process. And I think we're going to get kickback when they do find out. So we need to strap in and get ready for it.
I just want to, with all due respect, all of Sugar Grove neighborhood subdivisions, they're surrounded by farmland. And so the idea of businesses coming in, and obviously we're having a very lengthy conversation about this particular business, and lots of concerns have been raised, and it seems like the village staff and the owners of the property, which, mind you, are Mallard residents and Sugar Grove, obviously, residents, we're supposed to be pro-business. And I look at the farm stand that's down on Merrill Road, and there's traffic that's generated, and they have a beautiful business. And so the idea of semi trucks, 24/7 or trucks delivering, we live in an undeveloped subdivision, so we're dealing with, constant construction traffic all the time. I think it's like anything. Those are literally driving by my house. You kind of just turn a blind eye and say, oh, it's kind of like the train wreck. I would say to you, do you even notice it anymore? Or is it white noise because you've lived there so long? But the idea of having a Sugar Grove business based with Sugar Grove residents that live in the closest neighborhood, you couldn't find a more respectful owner for that property than ones that are right there that are your neighbors. They don't want trucks going through Mallard Point. They're two gentlemen that are trying to have a business in Sugar Grove, and we're supposed to be open and willing to business. And if I could have them across from my subdivision selling mulch and firewood over a nuisance kind of, maybe it's a nuisance to you, but it's some other issue. This is kind of farm generated business to me. It's hard not to support and be pro-business for Sugar Grove with residents that live right there where you live.
Yeah, if I just can, I'd like just to remind everybody that when this first came to the village, the request was for the village to support their approval through Kane County, which the board made it very clear the village would oppose that. And the owners have worked with us, I think, very well. They have not in any way threatened, if you will, that they're going to go to Kane County. But I think the reality of it is that was their original intent. And if they don't annex into Sugar Grove, I would guess they would, try to get it approved through Kane County, which they may or may not get. We don't know. But as we discussed a couple meetings ago, if it does get approved through Kane County, we lose all local control over the business. So, at least from my perspective, and I certainly don't mean to discount the concerns at all. And I would say, Rick, the one concern I have is what if the customers do, what you said they might and start trying to cut through Mallard Point, Rolling Oaks to go south on 47. If that does become a problem, I think that, the village would have the ability to, post it as, no through traffic type thing. And there would be some level of enforcement necessary. That would be an effort on the police department's behalf. But I tend to think that if, a few people start getting citations, that activity would cease pretty quickly. So I think I do believe we can control that if it does become a problem. And I think the level of concern I have for that, while it is real, is much less than the level of concern I would have if they were able to get approval through the county. And under that scenario, probably a lot of things they've agreed to with us may not even be part of it, let alone other uses that potentially could happen there. So.
The bullet point 3, determine whether accessory sales and storage of topsoil from the storage yard with some limitations is within reason for the principal activity of storing and selling mulch and firewood commodities from the premises. Is there a general feeling to allow ancillary sales in addition to firewood and mulch? I think, like Jen, you brought up pumpkins, things like that.
I think, when I was out there and visiting with them and I said, thank goodness I know you, Sean, laid your own mulch because I saw you, I think this spring, right after you had laid mulch, but I do not do that. And so my landscaper does it. But, so I said, he might come patronize your business and that would be great. I said, but the residents of Sugar Grove are looking for places to patronize. And if you could sell wreaths at Christmas time and greenery and garland and that kind of stuff so people could come that are there and want to support them on more of a small purchase item than filling a truck or I know a lot of people that buy firewood. So I think that would be good residential wise. But in addition to greenery is one of the things I thought of. And then also they had mentioned maybe talk to the pumpkin farm on Merrill and maybe bring some pumpkins of theirs down and sell some of that on their property. So I can let them speak to that, but I think that's a nice way for our residents to go in and patronize their business.
If I might add a positive note to Mike and Tom, every resident that complained to me about the truck issue and the more, it's more for professional people than it is residential. they all made comments about, I wish it were pumpkins, flowers, shrubbery, things that residential people could go in and buy. So that certainly is an untapped possibility. And I think they're all in favor of that.
Yeah, that would be huge because the dollars they get for that in Geneva and other surrounding areas, oh my goodness. And if we could buy it locally, yeah, I think that could make a really big difference.
All right. Well, I'm hearing more consensus on all three items, and we could ask staff to move forward, come up with an agreement that's good for the petitioner, and then we can bring it back for more discussion next week, or a vote actually next week. Any other comments?
I just had one. I think so. There's definitely a pattern that's formed here, and regardless if it's a water park or if it's this landscaping operation, we're falling into the way that our town is set up. There's no downtown and it doesn't grow out. So something's going to be by some neighborhood at some point in the future, and we really tend to say no to absolutely everything for one reason or another. And I'm respectful to people's opinions, but man, we really push a lot of businesses away, and I think we need a better process other than the one that we've got. We've got good representation from around the village, but we've got enough people and enough subdivisions to say, not in my backyard for just about everything. So I think I'm getting tired of that dead pattern. And I don't know if this is where we start the gentlemen with this business seem to be pretty reasonable and pretty flexible in the things that they're asking. So I think we need to find a way to start making this stuff work instead of just getting out our poo-poo guns and firing all over it. So food for thought, I guess.
I just have one question for clarification. Thanks, Sean. With regards to the traffic concern, is that, I know Ted brought it up, I know Rick, is it the 47 and Prairie intersection? Is that when you guys are referring to traffic issues or concerns?
I had said it before that the issue is when anything that has to go south, all these people that are picking mulch up or firewood or whatever and taking it to the south, right. Primarily mulch. Firewood, I think that can be picked up any time of day, but mulch is going to be picked up by landscapers in the morning when they're going to do their jobs. And you can't turn left on 47 from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. unless you drive through Mallard Point, and then you come out by Rolling Oaks, and then you can turn left there. So the big concern is that the traffic is going to be routed through our subdivision for all those morning jobbers. So obviously, if we put, no through signs, I mean, the signs that are up there for no left turns aren't keeping people from not turning left. You can go up there any morning and watch a number of cars turn left. The police department does sit there and write tickets occasionally. They did heavily when I first went in. I still see them once in a while now. But if the squads aren't there, people are turning left all the time. So I don't think signs are going to keep trucks from going through our neighborhood. It's going to have to take some serious effort on the police department to enforce it during those morning hours.
Yeah, I understand the concern. I guess I'm just saying there's a lot of open property, whether it be residential, special use permits. There's going to be more, as things develop, there's going to be more cars, more trucks, more everything.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. And if there was a light at Prairie and 47, I don't think we'd be getting the kickback we're getting. Because people know you just go up Prairie and we don't really care. The big concern is trucks coming through the neighborhood.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for the participation on this, and I think we'll move forward with the application. Okay. Moving on, Hannaford Farm topsoil stockpile. Brent, you have the floor on it.
Sure. I don't want to spend too much time going through the history, and obviously it was talked about at the last board meeting where the board expressed a desire to get the topsoil stockpile situation resolved. The village, task force, if you will. We'd had several meetings with both a representative of the HOA and Badge 323, which is the primary vacant lot over there, and then the village team met on our own essentially, and developed this proposal to resolve the situation. We presented it to the HOA and Badge 323 on Friday. The HOA, and I think there's probably a representative of both somewhere on this call, and we did get the letter from the HOA. The HOA supports the solution. Essentially, the only question they had was to verify what's included in the punch list, and their biggest concern was some sections of missing sidewalk. And it's staff's belief anyway that the punch list includes all those sections, or if not, I think there might have been one or two small sections that were identified that we would just add to the punch list. So I think that issue becomes resolved. The representative of Badge 323 was not generally supportive of the solution, and I believe he's on the call and can certainly correct me if I get off track, but I would characterize it as a feeling that pushing the cost onto the vacant lots is not appropriate, and felt that if this was going to be resolved, that the cost should be shared by either all the homes in the subdivision in addition to the vacant lots, and or potentially the village sharing in the cost. That was the primary concern. Secondary items that were mentioned were the possibility of some of the topsoil being placed on the lots within the subdivision, the vacant lots. And another one was the proposed permit fee schedule extends out for 5 years, and there's a desire from Badge 323 to extend that schedule out to a 10-year lock or guarantee, if you will. So they don't have to worry about permit fees or file fees going up in year 6 versus what we're here where it's a 5-year. So I think from the village side of the equation, if you will, we did a conversation this afternoon. I think the village side is still pretty comfortable with the proposal as presented. I believe from the village group that if the remainder of the terms, if you will, were agreeable to Badge 323, I think the village team is fine with continuing that permit fee schedule with the $500 annual increase out, an additional 5 years to lock it in for 10. And last I talked to, the Badge 323 representative was still in conversations with their group, and so couldn't, as of yesterday anyway, make a full commitment that, subject to that they would be okay with everything, which is fine. Just like on our side, I can say what I want, or our group can, but ultimately it goes up to the village board, and it's the same issue over there where one representative has to get the okay from the full group. So I won't go through the bullet points. You've all seen them, but that's at least from the village perspective what we're proposing as a solution to this issue.
Okay. We have a representative from Badge 323. Bill McHugh, do you have comments?
Okay. Allison, do you have his microphone turned on?
I have. He needs to unmute himself. There it goes.
Good now?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my name's Billy McHugh. I'm owner of McHugh Builders and a partner in the Badge 323. And as Brent said, I think this has been going on for well over 3 years. But just to make it quick, I mean, Badge 323 is agreeing to basically what Brent just talked about. The one thing I would like to just put a little time to make sure that this $3,000 that we're talking about adding to the permit cost, I would just like to make sure that that number seems a little high to me. I don't know if Michelle or staff has really put any numbers to what it's going to cost to move the rest of this dirt, but I think I'd be more comfortable if we had a meeting next week or as soon as possible, just to kind of go over what the numbers are, and if it needs to be at 3,000 or raise it $3,000, I mean, that's fine. I don't think it would be that much, but like I say, I would just like to get the cost on exactly what we think it would be. So again, I think we all, the homeowners, everybody wants this dirt pile gone. I think the quicker we do it, the better it is for everybody. And Brent touched a little bit there on the permit fees being locked in for 10 years, which, you know, we're agreeable with that. But again, I just would, and I don't know if Michelle can answer if you've done any numbers so far on what it would cost to move what's there. I mean, I think it's going to take a round table just to sit down. There's so many different little things that need done. And I think in the long run, this will help the HOA. I think it'll add less cost to them down the road. But again, I guess we're good for it as long as we can see on paper, you know, what the cost is.
Yeah, if I can, I think, you know, and Billy and I did chat briefly about that yesterday. And yeah, I don't think anybody on the village side has any objection at all to reviewing the budgeted costs to complete this project. We're more than happy to, meet with Billy and the HOA or anybody else who's interested to go through what we're projecting as the various costs associated with this. And if a result of that process, we can, reduce the anticipated costs and reduce that $3,000 fee, that would be great. Like I say, there'd be no objection on the village's side, or at least from staff or the team that put this together. I mean,
Sean or Heidi, you guys have been a part of that group. Do you have any comments on the recommendations?
I think the proposal that was put together, I think we all talked about it and went through a lot of different options, and I think it's a well thought out proposal. I know Michelle did a lot of work on it. So.
Okay.
Same. And I think that, the negotiating a little bit on the years of that, the locked in permit fee or whatever, like what Brent was talking with the $3,000, I think that's reasonable. The main thing is we'd like to see this stuff gone. And this was the best way that we've come up with to actually have a plan, a plan to actually get that done.
And Brent, this is just for the dirt pile that's in the center of the subdivision, not the north dirt pile?
The plan would be to clean up the dirt pile at the north. There's weeds and scrub trees and some issues up there. As part of this project, we would clean that up, but the idea would be that dirt would not be part of the idea is we're going to bring in a company next year to sell the topsoil, and that they would sell it, sell the main pile, but they would not sell the smaller north pile. That would remain, at least for the time being, available for the builders to use. There is a possibility, that site has been identified as for years as a future water tower site. And the grant application that we submitted recently is to prep that site for that future water tower. If we do get that grant, that would include, water main connection, removing the dirt, really, getting it really ready to go. and that's if we get the grant. If that did happen, there certainly would be time that we could let all the builders out there know, a time frame for when that would take place. And if they, if that time they wanted to grab some of the topsoil before it was gone, they would certainly have that opportunity.
And Brent, I apologize for not having all of my notes in front of me. The remaining lots, the dirt required to put topsoil in the remaining lots, did we estimate that at 15,000 cubic yards? Ish.
Yeah, I would say, depending upon, and every lot's a little bit different. I'm learning more and more about how much topsoil it takes to build a lot, and there's so many variables go into it, from the size of the house to the patio or deck and the driveway, the impervious surface to, if there's any grade issues with the lot where it exists. But I think that, we've been using working numbers of 200 to 250 cubic yards typically per lot, maybe up to 300. So, it's probably, I think best estimates are in the remaining lots, it's somewhere between, 10,000, maybe up to 15,000 potentially. That north pile has been measured to have 7,500 cubic yards. So it would, by itself, it would not be enough. We would anticipate that, between now and when a company came in to start selling dirt, that hopefully some more permits are issued and some homes are built, but that we would also anticipate that, some of the builders would want to come in and grab some topsoil off the main pile. Certainly at least on a few of their lots that they would anticipate, building on sooner rather than later. But, there is the possibility that the topsoil would all be gone, both piles, before all homes were completed. In that scenario, then the builders would have to bring in topsoil from some off-site location. That is a possibility.
Okay.
And one confirmation or question. Obviously, the full estimate of removing it and grading and all that isn't 100% known. But I believe the $3,000 per lot, $153,000. It's that plus the estimated FI load excess at the end, right? Which I've seen that. Yeah. So obviously, when we get to that final, what we believe the conservative estimate's going to be to complete all this, I would be a proponent of having some amount of contingency in there as well. So I just don't want this falling on anybody else in the future. I have various reasons, but don't need to get into that now.
Right. Understood.
Yeah. And Ryan, I'm going to talk about, Matt has sent out the FI load breakdown, and that village share is roughly $401,510. And that was a loan out of the infrastructure fund, and that's the fund that gets paid back as the FI load fees come in. So.
Yep.
I have one question. As far as the FI load fee excess, right now you have 30,000 in bills due or expenses that are still out there. And then we're talking about if the FI load continues at its current rate, that would grow to 130. I don't have my numbers in front of me. Am I correct? 130,000 or no?
Yeah. Well, we would, under this scenario, the village would be responsible to complete those remaining punch list items that are in that $30,000 range. And then even after that's paid, after badge 323 is reimbursed, the village is reimbursed. Matt, 153,000 available for dirt pile removal.
Yeah, 153.
And then sorry.
No, but I just want to understand. If there's 153 in the FI load, that means that has to be, correct me if I'm wrong, that has to be spent by the investment group to be reimbursed.
Well, under this proposal, we would amend the annexation agreement again, and that would then, these terms would be incorporated into a revised annexation agreement. That money would then go into the village account, if you will, to remove the dirt. We would lock in the FI load fee at the current level. We would, put that permit fee schedule locked in. That would all be in what would be, I think would be amendment number 4 to the annexation agreement. And on that note, you know, an amendment, there's a public hearing process which requires notification. You know, we have to draft the agreement, which, you know, that part of it, we've already had some rough drafts. That won't take that long. But, you know, Walter, Laura, realistically, are we looking at, you know, formal approval in October? Is that probably when we would, you know, meet the requirements for public notice and everything to have it before the board for a vote?
Yeah, assuming that the terms are agreed upon moving forward, yeah, October would be reasonable.
Can I say anything?
Sure.
Well, and that's where I guess, to me, with having 150 some $1,000 still in there, with another 150 to come, there's way more money in there than it's going to take to move this dirt. And that's why, you know, I just want to see what you guys would come up with cost. You know, knowing that we still had money with the FILO, I was not aware that we would lose. I mean, we need to have a round. There's just so many things to talk about with how this dirt should be moved. I still think that, you know, we should spend the $75,000. If 51 lots are paying for this, BAD should have the right to kind of, you know, say how it is going to be spent. And I think spending $75,000 to kind of cover putting black dirt on all the lots that are there, with another 200,000 still available to finish these dirt costs, is way more money than we're going to need. There's just so many little things to talk about.
Well, I think, Billy, that'll get addressed when we sit down and meet and go through the estimate. And certainly,
Yeah.
you know, if you're able to identify areas in the estimate that we can all look at and say, you know what, that estimate is too high and we can reduce it, fantastic. I think, you know, that truly, even though it's being charged to the lots, I think the HOA would be happy to have that, you know, if that fee can be reduced that way, I think they'd be happy and the village would be happy. But yeah, I think that it really is sitting down and going through the estimate and determining if there's any areas where we can reduce costs.
Well, and the last thing I'd say, and again, I think this meeting would be good, is, you know, talking to a dirt company, you know, they have no idea. You know, they're saying it could be a year and a half, could be 3.5 years. But I think if we do move 750 truckloads in 1 week, that pile in the main of the subdivision is going to be well over half gone. Where if we don't move that dirt, you're talking about that much longer. You're going to have a machine pulverizing dirt, which there's going to be dust. I mean, moving black dirt, there's really no dust. You know, it's not a messy job just moving black dirt, but when you start pulverizing it, that's where it tends to blow. And I don't think the HOA is going to be happy for the houses that live around there to have that many truckloads for that long. So there's a lot of things to talk about. And I want to, you know, I'd love to meet with the HOA one-on-one. If, you know, just, I think this will benefit them getting the dirt out of there quicker. I think we could have them trees taken down and that dirt done in the next month or two. But I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and I feel like I'm having a one-on-one conversation, so I apologize. But so, Billy, is your proposal then to remove the dirt yourself faster? Because I think when I hear you talk about it, I think you're going to move the dirt to the lots, but we have so much extra dirt on the property that just moving it to the lots doesn't make sense. We need to truly haul it out. We have so much between that pile and the north dirt pile. So I just want to stand corrected, or someone correct me if I'm wrong on what you're saying. Are you still suggesting you want to move it to the lots?
I am. So I'm saying that if this, I don't know how long it takes to get the permit. Michelle might know, the SWIFT permit, I think it's called. But, you know, by doing this, we would move, like you say, 750 loads of dirt in 1 week. It would be done. So that pile would be cut in half. Now whoever comes in is going to have that much less to move. It's going to get the dirt out of the HOA property quicker. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense, but my feeling on the issue is that we haven't removed the excess. We've just moved it. And so where the lots can stay undisturbed, and as you know, when you see that stockpile, there's lots growing on it. And all of the lots that are out there, if they were cleared and didn't have, nature taking over, if you will, we've talked about it. They're more sellable. They look better. They're more attractive. I had someone ask me the other day, well, they like a lot, but it backs to the dirt pile. What's the plan? And I said, well, you can listen in tonight because there's discussion about it, and see what the plan is. But I feel like that particular plan of moving the dirt to the lots, we haven't really solved the problem. We've just moved dirt because the problem is we have way too much.
Well, you're not going to see it. When you move it, you're not going to see it. When it's spread on the back of the lots, you're not going to see it. I mean, somehow I don't think we're on the same page. I mean, I would think you'd be jumping up and down because doing it this way, that dirt is going to get out of there a lot quicker. I mean, the trees would be taken down. I don't understand why you wouldn't think that this is speeding up the process of getting the dirt off the HOA property.
If I may, I think that the question ultimately becomes, and when we sit down and go over the budget, I think that might be the how this issue gets resolved, if you will. The estimated cost to move the dirt to the lots, to move roughly 7,500 cubic yards out of 25,000 that have been measured to be on that pile, both by EEI and on Badge 323's engineers, both came to the same conclusion on the size of it. This would move 7,500 yards, but there is a cost to move that dirt to those lots, which is estimated roughly $65,000. So and if you spread that out over, 51 lots, the cost of moving that dirt internally is, $1,200 a lot, what we're doing. If the $3,000 budget, that included hauling everything off site, if that is accurate, then the per lot fee would have to go up to $4,200 to cover that cost. If that $3,000 per lot budget is greater than it needs to be, then maybe that moving it internally could be absorbed within the same budget. We won't know that till we meet, but I think the idea that it gets some of the dirt spread out and off the pile quicker, there's some merit to that, but there is a cost to that. And the other factor is, we need to verify with, whatever company we're going to bring in to sell the dirt, that doesn't create any issues. I know that the one that the village has been talking to, they came out and they looked at the piles that exist today. We'd have to verify that they'd have no issue if that much dirt, was gone off of it. I don't think they will, but we would want to verify that. I think the good news is that both the company the village had talked to and the one Billy had talked to, while there's no guarantees, I think both of them independently feel reasonably confident that the dirt would all be gone within 2 years, hopefully potentially even sooner. But at least right now, that's what I think both companies independently are projecting. So again, can't guarantee it, but that certainly was at least good news in my opinion. That's kind of the timetable we're potentially looking at.
And Brent, at that $1,200 or $4,200, the two prices that you gave, the lot owners pay that?
Well, what's proposed is, that this, fee of $3,000 per vacant lot, and that includes to cover, all the costs that go along with bringing a company in to sell the dirt. And some of those costs are going to be the same regardless of where the dirt goes to. The difference is that if you move the lots internally, if you bring a company in to sell the dirt, whoever buys the dirt's bringing their own truck and they're paying to haul that dirt out. So to move the dirt within the subdivision, there's a cost to, load the dirt and move it to the lots that's not included in the village proposal. So that cost, if it's going to be part of this plan, there would be an additional cost that either would have to be absorbed by the current budget if there's room in it, or would have to be in addition to the budget. And I don't think anybody would object to if builders want to come grab some dirt right now, fine, but that's not what Billy's proposing, and I understand where he's coming from, but I don't think we can answer. I'm sorry.
Where you're asking for the 51 vacant lots to pay for the dirt, but there's a chance they might not get any dirt, which makes no sense. I mean, I don't see how you can sit there and basically have these 51 lots pay for it and not get the dirt. I mean, I don't know what I'm missing, but again, going back, to me, there's way more money in this account than what we're going to need. So I look forward to seeing the numbers. Right now there's, like you say, there's 135,000 in the if the money was brought in, 135,000, 150, there's $30,000 worth of work done. I guess it's better just to wait till the meeting to go over all this stuff.
Sure.
And Brent, if there is money left over, what happens to that money?
Well, I think that that's something that obviously, we got to have as tight a budget as we can. Certainly, there's no intent for the, anybody to come out ahead. As proposed, quite honestly, the way it's drafted out, the village is collecting a set amount and is taking the risk that if the costs do go above this, the village is eating the cost. If the cost came in lower than this, the village would benefit from that. But I will remind you that not only in Hanford Farm, but village-wide, even with this increased permit fee, we're well below what our quote standard fees would be. We've discounted our capital impact fee and our other fees by close to about 40% across the board. So if there is any extra money left over, that would go to offset some of those fee reductions. And I understand why we have the fee reductions. That's all the market can support right now, with where the economy has been for a number of years. So don't in any way take that as an objection to our reduced fees that we have across the board. But yeah, right now the village would be taking on that risk. And to the degree, if it's extra money, it would just, plug into one of those accounts that have been discounted.
Okay, time out. Why wouldn't you do the same thing that was proposed in the original annexation agreement? And if there is extra money left in the account, it goes back to the lot owners.
We can do that. That's what the board wants. I'm just telling you what's penciled out here.
I mean, I think the idea is to resolve the situation with as little impact to to the builders that are in there, so that the fees. So I agree with Billy that you need to really fine tune this number and keep it tight. They don't want to incur additional costs. The HOA doesn't want to incur costs, and the village doesn't want to incur costs. So the numbers are crucial in this matter. But yeah, the village shouldn't come out ahead in this. I think you're facilitating a situation without losing money. Hopefully, that's kind of the goal, is to not use tax dollars on a subdivision, but not as a profit center.
I think that's where I was kind of.
As to who gets any extra file load, whether it's the lot owner that paid it or the person living in the house. So that could be worked out with this agreement.
And that's kind of where I was going too. I thought that's how it was originally written up. So if that's a concern of Billy's, that there would be all this money left over. So the lot owners that had to pay that extra into it, I wouldn't have an issue to see that go back to them if there was money left over. But I wouldn't want to adjust that number too much and then come up short, and then the village have to take on those costs.
Well, the one thing, and I don't want anybody to come up short, the one thing is, and this is where we have to talk about it, badge, we can do so much more or so much cheaper than what the village can do something for. I mean, the original punch list for Hannaford Farms, and when we came in, it was over $2 million. I'm pretty sure it was like 2.3, and we ended up getting it done for, like, with this last 30,000 it still need done, it was 1.3. And it was, unless I'm missing something, we did it for $1 million less than the engineer's cost. And nothing, Michelle, nothing against you guys. That's just how it's done. Prevailing wages have to be paid, where we can do stuff so much cheaper. And that's just, I'm fighting for every lot owner still out there. I mean, we're talking, not about a ton of money when you break it down per lot, but we'll have this meeting. And again, I want this dirt pile to go away. I want everybody to be happy. So I just think we get to this meeting, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Everybody come and bring popcorn.
Let us leave it at that. We'll let it up to staff to meet with the badge 323 and if needed, the HOA to come up with a tight budget. Any other comments? Okay, thank you all for your discussion. Moving on, Mike, Tom, Carlos, and Billy, if you guys want to sign off, you're more than welcome to. We're just going to conduct the remainder of the agenda. Thank you for participating. If you do leave, you're more than welcome to stay. Any questions for staff? Tony, things look good at list in 47. Is it just putting the final lift down?
For the paving part, we have the final lift on Wheeler and Bliss to install, and then the traffic signals still need to be installed. Those parts, most of them are on site now, so they should be able to start making progress with the traffic signals as well.
Will the final lift be on this week, do you think? I think it's Curran, right, that's responsible for that?
No, Curran was responsible for the paving of 47 itself, and that they completed today.
Okay.
So then the contractor for the project is Deconstruction, and the plan is that they would complete the final lift this week.
Okay. Good. It's been confusing, and in the sake of public safety, I'm hoping it gets done soon, because the barrels and that median and all that, it's nobody's fault. And I realize there's a process and all that. It's just like to get it wrapped up sooner than others.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions for staff? Hearing none. Trustee reports. Ted?
Nothing new for me.
John?
Nothing new right now. Thank you.
Heidi?
Nothing new for me.
Rick?
No, nothing really new. Attended a online Convention Bureau meeting Thursday morning. Only news coming out of them was that the numbers over the last couple of months for tourism type, rooms, things like that are increasing steadily. So things are coming back a little bit, but obviously they're nowhere near what our 2019 numbers were. But other than that, nothing.
Okay. Ryan?
Nothing. Thank you.
Sean, how's school going, and any comments?
School, it's getting better every day. The remote learning there's definitely a huge learning curve for what is being expected of students and the support that they have at home. And it's getting better every day.
Good. Glad to hear that. Any other comments, Sean?
No, I'm good. That's it.
All right. President's report. Hope everybody enjoys Labor Day weekend. It's I think everybody's looking forward to it, to have a little respite from the daily life. Okay, there's no more public here at the Village Hall. I don't see anybody online, but I'll open it up to public comment. Hearing none, I'll close that portion. There is no airport report tonight. If I may get a motion to adjourn to closed session for exception of the Open Meetings Act to discuss litigation and to adjourn from there without taking any action.
I'll make a motion.
I'll I'll second it.
Montalto, second by trustee Heron. Roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee Montalto,
Aye.
trustee Heron,
Aye.
trustee Walter,
Aye.
trustee Cook,
Aye.
trustee Lindy,
Aye.
trustee Koenig.
Aye.
Okay.